Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I'm going to talk about the Battlefield 6 beta. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, I'm going to dive right in. If you happen to notice, the very first thing that happened in this video was that I died, and that was a common theme to my playthrough of several matches in Battlefield 6. There's a whole variety of reasons for this, not the least of which being that I just suck at this kind of FPS game these days. I tried COD and didn't do very well. I just tried this and didn't do very well. And there are some things I can attribute it to besides just my poor skill. And believe me, I will accept that a lot of it is my poor skill. But there's also a few other things. For example, there's no hardcore mode here. So occasionally you're going to just light guys up. I found some people talking about this on one of the communities in Steam where they were asking for a hardcore mode because they were tired of dumping half a magazine into someone or shooting someone multiple times in the chest or head with a sniper rifle and them not dying. These things are annoying, to say the least, and it's especially bad when, like, if you look, I just spawned and I had 31 rounds and then 62 backups. So I've got like, what, 3 magazines total? And if it's going to take half of that, anywhere from 10 to 15 bullets to take someone out at decent range, and these are pretty big maps, so you're not going to be up close and personal unless you're playing one of the close quarters battle modes, then what do you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys you can take down before you're relegated to a pistol or a shotgun. Now, I did take some people out with the pistol during my time, but I mean, it was because they were already hurt by other people. Like that guy I was just shooting, I got him like 3 or 4 times and he just backed away. So, it's just kind of annoying because most of the time I do try to play in a hardcore mode because I have decent aim and I can get somebody, but I can't necessarily sustain that fire on them. It's not Ghostbusters. I'm not able to maintain a perfect stream of fire on a guy while he bounces around, as I've seen on the forums. They call him Roadrunner. So it's just kind of annoying. And it makes the game a little less fun. I mean, obviously, some people love this kind of thing, and they have no problem with just loading folks up and tearing them up. Obviously, since I got killed so many times, there's plenty of action for that. One thing I didn't get killed by was tanks and rocket launchers, which is kind of a shock because they're going off all over the place. My personal feeling about the game is that it really does seem a lot like Call of Duty, but with more people. Call of Duty with more destructible maps. I didn't really feel that different. Now, the latest Call of Duty has all kinds of silly, like sliding or wall running. I don't remember specifically, but I know that the motion was a little bit more absurd. And in this game, there isn't any of that stuff. So they try to maintain some sense of realism. But honestly, if guys are going to take half a magazine to kill, they may as well let you run on walls and, super leap. I mean, what does it matter at that point? You're obviously not going for realism. Like, even just there, I know I got a guy 3 or 4 times. Didn't matter. Didn't do anything. So it can be pretty frustrating for, I don't even know which kind of player. I don't know. Maybe if you really like hardcore modes, you'd be annoyed. Probably be annoyed if you can aim like I can, but just can't score enough hits to close escrow on a kill. But whatever the case, for me, Battlefield 6 didn't really work. Now, that's not to say there isn't a lot to like here. I think the graphics are pretty solid. The motion is good. The guns sound good. You see that guy just load up with the pistol and someone else got him. Whatever. I mean, there's a lot to like here. And if they add a hardcore mode, that'll be great, I guess. But right when I started, I had the same problem I did in one of the earlier Battlefields where I didn't even see bad guys before I would die. Like, they were so far away that they were just wiping me out before I could even see them. It took about 4 or 5 games to really understand the setup and be able to start marking guys. And it wasn't like they changed tactics. It's literally just that when playing a Battlefield game, at least for me, I had to acclimate to the environments themselves. And now that may be true of Battlefield 6 as well, but there's two things. Number one, I don't really have the patience to just die over and over again in the effort to learn that. And number two, I don't really want to help the enemy team by providing them with kills and just wasting my team's time. Not that there aren't other people dying wholesale and in droves. It's just, I find it annoying. So that's my ultimate first impression of the beta so far. Obviously, things are going to be tweaked, but the stuff that I'm not super fond of is not going to change significantly in the standard game mode. Normal game mode, where you're just running around like this in Conquest or Breakthrough or Rush or whatever, it's not going to be any different. Guys are going to take a lot of bullets to kill. They're going to bullet sponge because that's kind of the style at this point. Even in Call of Duty, guys can take quite a bit of damage before they go down. And unless you're playing hardcore, you're seeing people who can just run like mad, which makes the map very chaotic and just so crazy that it can be really, I don't know, it's kind of demoralizing in a way, because you're just like, this is tiring. You play a couple rounds, you're like, no, I don't want to do anymore because it's just too wild. Which is kind of sad, because honestly, fast-paced gameplay is generally fun, but in a game like this, it can just become overwhelming. And hey, maybe they're trying to simulate something. I don't know. But one of the things that I've always thought about these games is that, they try to set you up to play with more people that or at least in some way that you're going to cooperate with them. Like, for example, I'm in a squad of 4 people. The very first thing that happened when I played my very first match is that the other 3 people literally ran off in totally different directions. It didn't matter that there was a squad. They didn't care. They were just going to Rambo it. It's a beta. They want to try stuff. That's fine. But I've always thought that in these games, it would be a lot more fun if everybody was on a microphone and listening and helping each other and doing a job, as opposed to the pure chaos of just running wild and, doing whatever you want, I guess. There are other games that actually do make that very clear. Like, you'll get voted out of the game if you don't have a way of communicating. These aren't that type of game. These are a little bit more accessible. They don't really cater to the sort of hardcore mode that requires that kind of communication and coordination, even though the game is primarily set up for you to play that way. I mean, you are expected to coordinate. Like, for example, in this, we're supposed to be taking points, and some people are doing it, and some people are being jackasses like me. Actually, to be fair to myself, I have no idea where anything is. I know I can see the letters on the screen now, but when I was fighting, I was like so hyper aware to try and see bad guys. I was just, lucky to be alive, or not, as just happened there. But I just feel like these games really do need to find a way to encourage more communication, to encourage people to break out the microphone and to help each other figure out where to go. Specifically for people who play games solo for the most part, who aren't going to be playing with friends. Of course, if you have friends, much better, obviously, then you at least know each other. Chances of getting, yelled at in a serious way or causing some kind of argument, much smaller. And if it is, hopefully it's a good-natured version. But I don't play with any of my friends. They play at completely different times as me. And when they do commit, they don't play for as long as I generally want to. So, I just kind of do things my own way. And that generally means that I'm playing these games pretty much alone. Which I think, in some ways, my extreme amount of time put into Destiny 2 Crucible has ruined these games for me. Destiny 2 is also a bullet sponge game. I mean, people can take tons of damage in that. And then you've got your crazy supers and all kinds of other foolish stuff. You're double jumping. Some people are flying. And I don't know what it is about that, because half of what I just said annoys me in PvP games, or at least it used to. But now, these semi quote-unquote realistic games like this one, I find these more annoying because, they're just realistic enough to look good. Look at that guy, just taking a whole bunch of rounds and ignoring it. They're just realistic enough to look like you're in a real place. and the people are saying things that sound real world, and all the noises and the locations and the signs and the everything. It just feels very realistic. And then you dump 10 rounds into somebody and they just run away and you're like, okay, I'm done. Whereas I guess in a game like Destiny, people are wearing God armor and they're running around with powers that they have built up by defeating literal spirits from different dimensions. So it just somehow in my head, I'm able to excuse the stuff that I struggle to do so in this. When I was playing Call of Duty before, and in such a way that I, struggle through some of these bullet sponge events, I started to think about it as everybody is a cheater on an airsoft course, and that you have to shoot them multiple times to get them to acknowledge they've been hit. And when I developed that mindset and really embraced it, I had a lot of fun with Call of Duty. But without that, it was just like, this is ridiculous. I guess I would rather see these games lean towards the hardcore. And before I made this video, I did read plenty of people agreeing with that. Now, obviously, you can't really cater to everyone. Some people like this kind of gameplay. And more importantly, when you're doing a beta, part of the point is to test the integrity of the servers, make sure connectivity is working well. I mean, they are still trying to test some things. It's not just, an open demo. They are doing things here. So if you start to divide the player base up by standard and hardcore mode, then you just limit the player base and then it takes longer to get into the game and so on and so forth. So I kind of get it. And, if they didn't do a hardcore mode, I'd kind of understand that too, because of course, once you start playing the game, then people are going to be, again, dividing their time up. And so half the player base, or even a third of the player base going to a different game mode than everyone else, is going to increase the time it takes to get into a game. And, the hardcore people, who maybe there aren't as many of them, are going to be sitting there for a lot longer. Whereas the standard mode, maybe it's quicker, but it could be even faster. So if it was me, if I had my way, I would probably not release a hardcore mode if I was the developer. I would, however, reduce the time to kill significantly. Not to hardcore levels where 1 or 2 bullets finishes someone, but at least 3 to 5 takes someone down. Like my pistol there hitting, I guess I did take him down. But, maybe like three rounds from the pistol should be enough. That's just how I feel about it. I know that it's so chaotic that people would be dying way too fast in some circumstances. Like it just gets chaotic. But the thing about it is that if you can force people to be a little more tactical and make them like actually sneak around or maintain cover or work together and provide, overlapping fields of fire and suppression, then I think that they would be getting more of what they're after as far as the Battlefield experience goes. Because right now, it's just people running around like complete maniacs, surviving being shot way more times than they should, automatically healing. As you see, my health just went back up to full after I took quite a few rounds myself. And it's just kind of crazy. I don't know that that's the intention of this game, but then again, I don't know for sure. I mean, maybe this is exactly what they envisioned. And the Activision guy, I just saw, I don't remember who specifically he was, but he worked for Activision and he said that Battlefield 6 looks great and it's going to kick COD's ass this time. And it'll be great for COD because then they'll make it better. I mean, that may or may not be true, but to be honest, and again, I'm going to stand by the fact that I'm not that sophisticated with this kind of FPS anymore. But to me, the last time I played COD, it felt a lot like this. Other than the fact that the environments are so destructible in this, it feels like a lot the same as far as the movement and the shooting goes, and certainly the bullet sponging. So, I can say that the game isn't necessarily for me. I can also say that I suck at it, and that's partially why I'm not really interested in trying to get better, because it's just too chaotic and I won't be playing with anyone. That said, I'm sure that that people are going to have an absolute great time with this, especially if this is what they've been gagging for, if they've wanted something that has this level of just pure kinetic energy. I think it'll go over very well. But just know that, you will be lighting people up and doing quite a bit of damage to take them down, that there are tanks, and that you can be one shot with some of these crazy explosions, buildings coming down around you and all that stuff. One last thing about it though, and this is not gameplay related, but in order to get it to work, I had to turn on secure boot, which means you go into your BIOS and fiddle with a setting. Not a huge deal, but it is worthy to note that there are a lot of people who are like, I'm not doing that. I don't know anything about the BIOS. I don't want to mess something up. And again, it's not that big of a deal. It's not hard, but I'm not going to disparage someone who is unwilling to go into their BIOS because, I mean, it can be scary. And to do that for a game is a little crazy. Now, they have a good reason. They do suggest that it helps them battle cheaters. And this game has definitely done a lot for that. They have banned, like, I can't remember. It was 3,000, something like that. I don't know. They did stopped 300,000 attempts of cheating or something crazy like that. There's some statistics. If you're really interested, you can find them. So maybe part of what I just said will help with that. I don't know. But you do have to turn on secure boot. The game will not even try to load if you don't. And so that's something to keep in mind. If you don't have a motherboard capable of it, if you're not on Windows 11, whatever the case, Battlefield 6 just will not work for you. So keep that in mind before you go for it. I know the game's probably going to be $70. You could probably play it on EA Play. I'm not sure. I don't really care enough to find out because I'm not gonna play it after today. But those are your options for getting into this game. If it was me and they do have it on EA Play and you're even remotely on the fence, I would spend the $17 or whatever it is to get a month of EA Play and try Battlefield 6 with that as a sort of demo, or buy it on Steam and be prepared to refund it if it isn't for you. Just be cautious, because unless you're like all in and you know that you're going to love Battlefield, it would be better for you to know that you have an out. Like maybe you're going to play for an hour and be like, wow, this is just not what I was hoping for, and I'm not going to put any more time into this. Then it would be good for you to be able to, back out. But if you do a full commit and then you don't like it, you're down $70, and that kind of sucks. But anyway, have you played Battlefield 6? Have you played any of the other Battlefield games? I'll tell you right now that my favorite one was Bad Company, and nothing will beat it. I loved that game. What was your favorite Battlefield? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. This is Rob with Society Case Files signing off.